Good morning and welcome. So I have been in technology a very long time, and to prove how long I've actually been in technology, the mouse was only 5 years old when I first started cutting my first bit of code. So I'm really privileged and lucky to be here. Excuse my cold, so excuse my voice. I'm really happy to talk about all things technology, but I actually want to give you a very grounded approach to technology because actually one of the things that scares me most about Gen I is all the things that Nina listed that you needed to think about, and I want to share with you the good, the bad, the old and the new as it relates to what is happening in technology today. So I want to give you my view of where we are today in travel technology. And I've only been in travel 3 years this June, and I'm pretty shocked by some of the technology that we continue to use in travel. And actually, we talk a great deal about how wonderful it's going to be with Gen I, when in actual fact, we're still using faxes in some cases to confirm bookings. Even though that same hotel that's waiting for a fax confirmation is offering free Wi-Fi. Seriously? I was so shocked when I had somebody saying we're going to turn off the fax service over a year ago. So I think we need to just be really realistic about where are we with tech and travel, and to say actually we should stop treating tech as the enemy, actually invest sensibly into technology, give it a bit of love, but also understand where you're starting from so that you can plot a path to where you need to go next. And I think this is really where I want us to make sure that we are fully accepting the fact that each one of us has technical debt. Now, we may not like it, we may be scared by it, but unless we actually fully address all of the technical debt and the fact that many of you are sitting in organizations where actually one of your key pricing tools is still Excel, is something that we need to really take seriously as an industry. So I want to talk a bit about AI. Now, personally, I love AI. I think it's great. I love everything that's to do with modern technology. However, to be successful with AI, you really need good data governance and you need high quality data. Without high quality data, your AI will not work. And I think this is really where I want to be clear that everybody needs to come on this journey together. We are an incredibly fragmented industry. We need to be sharing our data in a consistent and understandable format. Now at HBX, we are really lucky because we sit between the providers, the hotels, and the distributors. So we sit on a data lake that's over 320 terabytes in size. So we have a lot of data to mine, but I know that the quality of all that data is not at the right level. So we actually have a data quality metric that we use, and we are only going to actually unleash that data once the quality metric has been exceeded, because there's nothing worse. Well, there's two things that are really worse. So there's nothing worse than a chatbot with wrong data or incomplete data. The second thing is that you don't control the prompts, and you've all seen the memes where people get their chatbot to complain about the company that you're actually chatting with, and those memes go around social media faster than anything I've ever seen, and so your brand reputation, if you get this wrong, is absolutely immense. Now, so preparation for AI, understanding where you're starting from, and actually making sure that data quality and data governance are at the heart of what you're trying to do is absolutely essential from my perspective. The other thing that travel as an industry does not like talking about is cybersecurity. Basically, you need to make sure that your technology is as secure as it can possibly be. Now, I know because we connect to tens of thousands of industry players that actually security comes quite low down in the investment prioritization piece. And what is interesting is to see how the bad actors in the cybersecurity space are actually doing a very concerted effort to get as much money out of the travel industry as possible. The basket size is large, the ecosystem is fragmented, and quite frankly, we could do a lot better in terms of making sure our systems are patched and that we've got the very best security protection possible. Now, what we have seen is actually the bad actors are not only targeting, say, hotels with phishing emails to steal their credentials, they're not only targeting the OTAs to do the same thing, they're actually targeting both. So they steal the credentials from the hotel, work out which clients they're connected to, steal those credentials, and then play the system both sides. They only need to do this for a couple of hours, and they've made hundreds of thousands of euros or dollars in terms of fraudulent transactions. And the people that wear the cost is either the hotel or the merchant, the distributor. So we have a long way to go. Now, my background is actually in payments. Now, in payments, we actually shared all of the details around the cybersecurity threat. If someone had suffered from an attack, you would share that information as an industry to help everyone come together and actually build better defenses against this very real threat. Now, I think this is one of the areas where we need to also make sure that we not only protect our own businesses, but we protect the travelers. So, for example, the Russians and Chinese were behind the Sabre and Marriott attacks. There was actually a North Korean army unit called the Dark Hotel Group, and they went unstopped for 7 years by hacking hotels' Wi-Fi and stealing diplomatic and important people's credentials, which was then used to either further the cybersecurity risk or actually steal their credentials for nefarious gains. So from my perspective, you're going to hear a lot about AI. You're going to hear a lot about large language models, and all of that is fantastic. However, can we make sure that we focus on having a secure, high-quality, data-driven organizations so that we can actually benefit from those? Otherwise, what we will do is just produce more proof of concepts which work in isolation for a short period of time, and to Nina's point, you're then unable to scale. So I think this one is probably the Gen AI worst nightmare. You connect Gen AI or a large language model to your defense systems or your power grid, and you end up with the Terminator. Now, obviously, we're not talking about that because we're just talking about travel. However, we do need to make sure that we think very seriously about how much freedom and how much lack of control that we might have over what we are connecting to our platforms and our systems. And I have to say that I don't believe there's actually a first mover advantage. What I think is that you should learn and watch from what everyone else is doing. Avoid those memes where you get your chatbot to say how nasty you actually are, and actually learn from the mistakes that everybody else makes. So take your time, get the basics right, and make sure you're secure, and then absolutely leverage the full capabilities of AI. Now, at HBX, we are very interested in AI. We have 8 production capabilities already. We have a team of data scientists. We actually invest in machine learning. But we always make sure that we do it very carefully, very slowly, and make sure that we learn from all of the mistakes that you inevitably make. But it can be absolutely amazing. And one of the main things that we're doing this year is to leverage AI, not to replace our frontline agents, but to make them better frontline agents. Because actually, this is where I slightly disagree with some of the more excitable AI proponents, which is actually AI should be able to make us better, not replace us. So if you're able to give your frontline agent all the information that they actually need, they will serve that customer much better, much faster, so their productivity is improved. And then you can actually get them to work on more complex scenarios, or even to make them convert into outbound calling capabilities to give you another or a different sales channel. So I think What we're doing at HBX is to make sure that we look at the best cases, but also to absolutely ground it in those basics and the fundamentals, that if you get this wrong, it's incredibly public, incredibly visible, and can be quite bad. So one of the key things that I wanted to talk about is actually that, as far as I'm concerned, tech is an iceberg. So we talk about the visible top bit, which is nice, white and shiny, which is actually the web, the visible channels, the chatbots, the AI capabilities. But actually what sits underneath is actually the thing that's either going to rocket you into scale or actually slow you down to the point where you stop. And this is where the technical debt sits, underneath the shiny, white, visible part. And this is where I actually think that we need to face up to what our technical debt is, and we need to invest in that technical debt and make strong and difficult decisions to remove that technical debt to actually defragment the travel industry completely. And I think this is really where you can see that what investment we want to put in is not just on the bright, shiny new stuff, but actually addressing the things that are barriers to your growth and scale. And this is why I think that tech and travel have a bit of a love-hate relationship. You guys really embraced e-commerce, but since then, the level of investment really needs to increase, given what Nina was saying around actually how people want to consume your services. So I think this really is my plea for you, is to look at technology, but not just from the visible side, look at the entirety. Make sure that you've got the right data governance, the right controls, and the right cyber capabilities, and then you will be able to scale and grow in ways that are hard to imagine. And I think this is really where, at HBX, we've undertaken a very difficult and challenging journey to actually remove as much of our technical debt as possible so that we are able to connect more easily, build new visible parts of our platform, but also to leverage and scale with our partners, which are you. And I think this is really where I want to get to in terms of the future trends. So my bets on future trends are not number one is AI. Number one is actually augmented reality. Because actually, by combining the data that you have, the data that somebody has on their mobile phone, and actually the fact that VR headsets are still way too expensive and heavy, and people walk into things if they're wearing them, actually augmented reality on your mobile phone is absolutely where we believe that the combination of data and performance is really going to drive some of the interactions that Nina was talking about earlier. As I mentioned with AI, we have already invested significantly in AI and ML. We will continue to do so, but with very specific and curated cases. And certainly, we will not be using the internet as our data source. We will be using our own data as the data source, because if you open it up to the internet, then you are really opening yourself up to some very interesting cyber players, which should be really scaring you if you don't know about them already. I've talked a bit about the mobile phone. I think the mobile phone is actually quite a massive computer, depending on how far you go back. It's in your hand. It can do augmented reality. It can also do a lot of processing, and we should be actually leveraging and treating the mobile as a much more targeted channel for us in travel. The last point is really just my plea around data quality. I cannot get across to you how important it is. I'll give you a little anecdote. We were doing a data migration from one platform to another, and we'd done all of the sweeps of the data. We thought it was all going to go well until someone at some point had decided to put a Christmas tree emoticon into a database field. Because the migration script had never seen a Christmas tree emoticon, it completely crashed the entire migration. Now, that's how you create or don't create good data quality. You need to have strict rules. You need to have a real focus on quality, because you can get tripped up by the most unusual and minor points, such as a Christmas tree emoticon. I think the other piece that Nina said that I completely agree with is customization and personalization. But again, you have to have the right data, you have to have the right data quality, and you also need to comply with all of the rules and the regulations around GDPR, etc. So again, this takes careful planning and execution and making sure that you are able to leverage this in the right way to have the right impact. So hopefully that has given you a bit of a view in terms of my down-to-earth approach to technology. So just to reiterate, I do believe that AI and ML are here to help us, but treat it with care and make sure that you have your fundamentals right before you hand over the keys to the kingdom, and then you reap what you sow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paula Felstedt.